Hello, this is Gene. It's been a bad day the last couple days, and yesterday was really bad. Um, I just want to talk about my feelings of what happened yesterday in Paris. A lot of people who watched my channel, some are in the alt-right, whatever that means. I've told you many times in this channel that I don't look at this movement being um, left or right on the political spectrum. But so a lot of people will say that it's the same old people that are doing what's going in Paris right now. Um, a lot of times in this channel we talk about there's a plan that was defined that was decided in the last 100 years or so, um, to have Europe become basically under the heel of the Jewish state, let's say, the Clary plan. And a lot of people on the alt-right talk about this. A lot of other people that are normies talk about this and say that it's out there, everybody can see it. Um, but there's been a plan that's been going on at least for a millennia. There's been a certain religious sect that have said that they were going to do this, that they're going to take over Christendom and destroy the temples, the churches that we have, and then replace them with their own places of worship. And you know who I'm talking about. I'm not going to be cryptic here. I'm not saying that what happened yesterday was from Muslims at all. It could have just been an accident. But it doesn't really matter because the image of that happening is is really paramount to them. Even if they didn't do it, they believe that in their mind that the West is falling. And one of the biggest um, identifiers or things that we look at as the West was Notre Dame or Notre Dame. So I have a personal story about that place. I've been there, and I want to talk about that a little bit. But this is one of those weird things. That's not really weird because a lot of people right now, a lot of the Zoomers or the younger guys are talking about, okay, this is finally the awakening thing, that it's time that we need to defend the West, and they want, basically want blood, and I understand that. Um, but some people have pushed back a little bit on that. Even Nick Fuentes said it last night. But I think he is like a lot of people are. He's so black-pilled that it doesn't really matter at this point. This is something that we all thought is coming in the future. It's just that it's when these things start going down hill, as you know, that the inertia that you have, the momentum that you have, it goes a lot faster than we think it's going to be. 20 or 30 years ago, they didn't think that by 2045 that the white people would be a minority in the country. Um, Now that's a fact, and in fact, it's getting worse. It may be earlier than that. So I started thinking about that. I started thinking, I'll probably be dead at the time that happens. I'll be sitting in my laying in the hospital chair or in my house with a tear going down my cheek, saying that the West is gone, and I'm going to die right now, and I feel so bad that I have to leave this to my kids. But I won't see the worst part of it, right? But I don't think that's going to happen now. I think that I'm going to experience it, and it's going to get more and more difficult for us not to do anything about it. Um, but what we try to do, somebody on this channel, myself, because this is my channel, and people at my age sometimes have to take a step back and use our experience and try to understand how to solve this in a rational way. Now, a lot of people will call this cucking, and this might be the time that this is over, and there'll be no more cucking from people like me or people in my generation or the boomers at this point, because this could be another schism between the boomers and the zoomers on this, because I know that some of those guys want some sort of revenge. We're never going to find out. I'm not going to say we're not going to ever know, but right after it happened, well, it was still, the fire was going on. The local officials were saying it was no arson. They just assumed that it was no arson, even though the fire marshals didn't go in there and actually check it. Now today, we're hearing a little bit different now. Is this a big enough place, something that means so much to Christendom, to Catholicism, that this is the standing point. This is where we're going to actually wake up. No matter what we've done, and the media that has tried to censor a lot of people that have a lot of followings, uh, will it really wake up people? I know, of course, you see what you see on the images of people that are not white, somewhat smiling at the image in France, in Paris, of the spire coming down, and then you see the stuff online, how happy that it's going on, and then you even have the Jewish people come out and say, well, as they do, and I hate to be this way, they at the end they always have to say it's something about that Jewish people are being the victim in this. It has to do this. And Nick talked about it last night of what Ben Shapiro said. First, he started a little joke saying that the Notre Dame football team should come out and fight the fires, even though Notre Dame is in South Bend, Indiana, which is a hick area. And he thought he would be funny about it. Then he started to say that this was a heritage for Judeo-Christianity, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? That word, Judeo-Christian, that's like a new thing. That no Jewish people built that cathedral. This is something about a Christian or Catholicism. That's nothing to do with Jewish people, other than the fact that if you think that Christ was a Jew and not the Son of God, okay, you can have that debate if you want. But there, like when I say on this channel, and I've talked about, there's a different plan, and I'm going to talk about that in the future, a little bit closer, in a few minutes. But the Jewish people and the Muslim people in the area, of course, Muslim is a religion. It is not a race. However, in the Middle East, the Arabs and stuff, the Persians, are DNA brothers to the Jewish people. They are from the same stock. It's like being from Germany and being from Italy. It is that close when it comes to how close they are genetically. And sometimes you want to beat up your little brother all the time, and that's how they've been their entire life. And they will kill each other based in their belief in the God that they believe. But they still are brothers. And they both, at different levels, of course, got some joy of what happened yesterday. To see one of the biggest important places in Christendom being burned down. It would be the same if Mecca had something happen there, or if the Temple Mount happened something in the modern world. We saw this on TV. You would see them be very upset. I'm not going to say that any Christians might come in and laugh about it. But this idea that they're sworn enemies, when they're not. They might have wars against each other, but they still believe the same people. They still believe in Abraham. They just have a different idea of who's the prophet. But their books are basically the old, before the New Testament was created. So they still believe the old shit. And they have never had a real reform in both of their religions. Now, Jewish people have, through their success and stuff, have become more assimilated in the West, regardless of the issues that they have and how they assimilate incorrectly, in my view, in the West. But they have somewhat been successful in the West. And a lot of them aren't religious. A lot of them are atheists. And they almost basically, although they won't call it this, they basically worship Satan, the ruler of the world. And their rituals are basically almost built for that. And then you have the Muslims and who they believe. So they're more closely related than we are when it comes to DNA. So what am I trying to get across here? I've said before that they've had a plan. The Muslims for years have had a plan. First, they want to, or by force, want to take over Europe, and they tried this for hundreds of years. And we stopped them. And sometimes they won. They won parts of Spain and some parts of Italy and stuff. But we finally shut the door at them. And now they're coming through in Europe, and we're allowing them to come in. They're going to destroy our heritage, our history, And this is what they're going to do. They're going to breed with our women. They're going to take away our history. They're going to take everything that we have dear, the people that we look up as heroes or our religious people, and he's going to destroy all of them. They're going to take down the monuments like people in the United States are doing. Different group of people, but it's the same thing. And almost universally, they have somebody behind them that are pushing the strings, and they're happening to the same people. And they are. So this plan has been going on forever, and they never stopped thinking about it. They just basically went. They like the Thing in the movie The Thing, and he just sleeps for 1,000 years, and then somebody wakes him up, and then they can do what they're going to have to do. This is what they're going to do. They have the long game. This is what they believe in the long run. They're going to take over the world because that's their mandate. You can sit there and say there has been some reform in the Muslim community, and there are people in the West that are good people. But when you actually sit them down and you ask them similar questions, simple questions, over half of them believe that that's the way of the future, that Islam will take over the world. And they believe in the Torah, the Quran, and the word of the Quran. So both religions basically say Gentiles need to be killed. I don't, and it is what it is, right? Whether you believe it or not, that's what they go for. Now, again, we don't know what happened yesterday, but we know that just that image of that happening is just the same things of somebody who was Muslim or a Jewish people that blew that shoe that up. So why I had to wait a day to talk about this? Because, again, I think I'm the older guy, whatever this movement is. Sometimes when I talk on this channel, they think that I've cucked a little bit on things. I like to look back and just rationalize it and see there's could be a better thing to do here. Now, I think that we're probably at an exit point now. I think that it's possibly that this might be where it starts getting really bad. We already know that we had over 100 or 800 desecrations in France already to the churches there. Not mosques. These were Christian churches that are being desecrated. And who else would be doing this? So it didn't shock me that it's happening to one of the greatest things ever in our history and our heritage. Now, we all know that France is probably lost, and that hurts me deeply because most of my heritage is from France and Germany. I'm a Germanic person, so when we talk about brothers, we're really tied together through that. I know a lot of people in France, a lot of people in Belgium, and they know that their countries are gone. They're being braided out of existence, and they know what's going to happen. There's no way that all of a sudden now, when these people get in power, that they're going to be nice to the natives or the people that founded France. It's not. It's going to be very, very bad. So I get it. When the Zoomers want to say we got to do something about it physically to it, I do it. Parts in the alt-right, the very far right of it, that want to go out and start doing stuff, I get it. But we have to back up a little bit and say, how are we going to do about this logically? So personally, in the 80s when I was stationed in Frankfurt, this was after the bombing that happened. A leftist person came on our base and blew it up. 2 people died. It's a very interesting day that day, but these were white people that were leftists that wanted us out of the country. And you can't really blame them to a point. Why were we occupying Germany 30 or 40 years after the war? But Germany had already started that long, it's not really long anymore, that they've been converted to being the scapegoat of everything. So anyway, I think it was 1984, I got my first girlfriend. I went on one of those tours to Paris. And we went, and you could see this change back then. This is 35 years ago. But you already saw that the multiculturalism in France had been started. And everywhere you went where the tourist attractions were, there were Nigerians there or Africans people. I've never seen. Now, I grew up in South St. Pete, East St. Louis. I had never seen people that were so black. I mean, physically so black. It's crazy to me. And for the most part, they were nice, but they kept haunting you for money because that's what they were doing. They were basically selling stuff there. So I'm sure there were people that were behind him that were getting the money. It wasn't just black people there. It was probably Jewish people that were getting 90% of what they sold. But anyway, so it was a great couple days there. Um, you know, this girl hadn't really, she wasn't really my friend or my girlfriend at that point, but during that day she told me that she wanted to be with me per se. So it was one of those great days. We went on the Eiffel Tower. I was high on life, high on love. I was drinking a little bit. We went to the top of it. I was running around. I just loved it. And I talked about this on my channel. The few of you that actually seen all of my videos, I talked about when I went to Paris that I felt like I'd been there before. And everywhere I went, now we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have GPS, we had maps, but I didn't really carry them. I just decided to go out with her, and we started walking around, and I knew where I was going. I knew what things. We ended up where the center of town with the Arc de Triomphe, to Triumph. And we started going around. And of course, there were signs and everything, but everywhere I felt like I'd been there before. And that's why I started having the idea back then that there's something related, whether it's deja vu or just your bloodline that goes through to you from your father's father, and all the way through, your mom, whatever, that there's some sort of memories in your blood. And people are saying this about slavery, that people can claim this because it's in your blood. There's some sort of history about that, or about some sort of research that says that. So if that's true, then it's also that I'm having the same type of thing when I'm going through Paris in my 20s. But we stopped and we went to Notre Dame. I went inside. It was unreal. I felt it. I was agnostic at that point. I was almost forced to go to Sunday school, and I kind of like hated this church because of that. They basically give us money, not money, but you come here, we'll give you a thing, so you can go to McDonald's and get a free burger. And I didn't like that idea. At 12 or 13 years old, I'm like, why are they pushing me that? Why are they giving me food to go to talk to God or whatever? So I kind of stayed away from it. But when I went there in my 20s, I was like, I felt something there. And I started thinking in the back of my mind, this is the first girl I really loved, and I wanted to be with her. And I started having this image that I was going to marry her in this place. And I was like, oh, they probably won't let me do it. And I said, or maybe I'd come back after we're married and we can just like do something there. But I loved it in there. And when I see yesterday that it was, the inside of it was being burned down, it felt that it was part of the soul had been just burned down as well. So when I talk about in this channel about the collective soul, this is part of that. This is part of the West. This is part of everything. And to see it be burned down like that, and then people celebrating it, and then Jewish people get online and just have little quips about it, it just makes you wonder. And I think that we are the biggest underdogs in history at this point. Whatever you look at the statistics saying that 7 to 10% of the world is Europeans, white Europeans. This is one of the biggest. This will be one of the greatest comebacks of history of any man, of any tribe ever. People talk about how the Jews had survived after all these years, because small a sect of people that somehow they survive without being totally obliterated. This is going to be even. We are the founding stock of the West. So I said some things, put some stuff on Twitter. I tried to get in touch with Electra, who lives in Paris, who's one of the biggest people out there on the movement. Make sure that she was okay. She's okay, but she's very sad. I can't imagine if I was there. I don't. Is this the time? Are people like me going to say, okay, this is the time for us to do something about it? And I don't, it's hard to think what could be the actual solution to it. Do we just become so black-pilled like Nick was last night on his show? Do we get to that point where you're like, well, I'm just so desensitized to this that I don't really care about it? I mean, this is somebody who, and I'm talking about Nick here, who's been talking about Catholicism forever and how important it is to the West. And I'm not a big fan of Catholicism, okay? They have their own issues. But I believe that Christians mean is very important. I think the idea that the Savior came in and redeemed us for our sins separates us from the other two Abrahamic faiths, the Muslims and the Jews. It separates us. So when people say that Notre Dame is kind of a Judeo-Christian thing, it's all bullshit. We made the change. We looked at Jesus Christ as the Savior, the Son of God, who redeemed all men. And when I say all men, I'm talking about just as well as Gentiles and non-Gentiles. Muslim people, or the Quran and the Talmud, do not doesn't include us. Um, in a lot of ways, they look down on us, and right now they have every reason to, because we've lost our way. And I'm not saying that being like Hitler was and rounding them up and put them in intern camps, or beating them all up with the superior technology that we have is the way to go, or being isolationist and just shutting down the borders in all these countries is the way to go. But something needs to happen, because what happened yesterday, these are things, when I'm 40 or I'm 54 now, that if I was 22, and it was at the time that we had the bomb on our base, and I remember that day, I want to get a gun and I want to go out and just start shooting people, and I don't even know why, because they hit near the building that I work in. And I know that young people are thinking the same way now. They want to go out and just finish this. And because right now we have the technological advantage to do something about it. But nobody above us, the people who are going to make those decisions, will never allow it to happen. So you want to think that we all can get along, but both their mandates is to rule the world in their own certain way. Jewish people know they're never going to have the majority as far as how many populace they're going to be. They understand this, and they don't want it to be that way. They want their community to be what it is, all Jewish, 100%. They want their ethno state, but they don't want anybody else to have it, especially goys. And then the Muslims don't care who it is. You can become part of it, but don't ever try to leave, because they don't allow that, and they will kill you if you try to leave the faith. You can say a lot of things about Mormons. You can say a lot of things about the Protestants. You can talk about other little areas, parts of the humanist movement that falls into the Christian stuff. But for the most part, even though Mormons have their issues, they believe in the same Redeemer, and the Redeemer is Jesus Christ. So what is his plan here? Are we supposed to sit here and just allow this to happen? This was his temple, his cathedral. Fortunately, they got the thorns from the crown and back, and a lot of things that were important came out of there. But it's like an assault to the West. And again, it doesn't matter if it was a Muslim person who did it, or a leftist, or an atheist. Just the image of that is just another dagger through the heart of Europe and the West in general, and to the white race. And I don't know what to do at this point. I can't continually just become black-pilled like younger people, because we know what happens when they get black-pilled. Too many of them kill themselves. I can't allow that to happen. I have got to talk about things that are more positive, things that can change. And I know Nick is trying to do the same thing. But I don't know what to do. I can talk about this, and until we get a real league that's going to do anything about it, we're all just going to wall around in this. And you're going to have little skirmishes or terrorism or whatever's going to happen. It's going to be too late. And then when it's too late, and then our women are taken away from us, and after about 100 years, they're not even going to remember what we were. They're going to say that we didn't fight for them. People don't want the whole thing in the West. All these feminists don't want the idea that there's roles for men and women. Women understand from a visceral level, a biological level, a evolutionary level. When their men do not vote for them or fight for them, they go to the men that are more motivated And at first, they'll be raped, and eventually they'll become submissive, and then eventually they will defend those men that did it to them in the very beginning. And this is what happens. Women are great at raising babies and all this other shit, but at the end of the day, they're going to be the ones that are going to be taking the shit on. And unless men in the West do something about it, it's just a very, very bleak future for the West. Because men, and it just, I mean, I could talk about this forever because there's so much of an outgrowth of what's going on here. People on the mid-cow side thinking that they got everything right, just because they understand about female nature. But those men need to be part of the solution. They can't be on the outside when the horde is coming over the fucking gate. We've got to do something about it. We can't sit there and say, I'll let you guys deal with it because you're part of the system. We have so many people like that, so many young men that are like that, that says everything's against them. They're so black-pilled. They just look on TV or on the internet, and they just look at porn, and they think that's enough. Owen Benjamin talks about shit like this. It says it's so important for men to defend and protect their family. That's what we're here for. And women are supposed to have babies and be nutrient, whatever the word. Be empathetic to their family, to their people, not to other people. Don't use that thing that was given to you by God to say, you come into my country and just let people just do what they do. We can help other countries and other cultures, but we have to always take care of what's here first. And we lost that. And I get on this channel, I continually say, it's our collective soul. The West is dying. And then when you see this, and you know in the background, there's this caricature of a man who's a Jew doing this, going, it's good, it's good, it's good. And the Muslims are sitting there just basically laughing because they think that we brought it to ourselves. Because we did so many things through colonizing everything and during the Crusades and all this stuff that we deserve it. And way, way, way too many white men believe this as well. And they think that at the end of the day, they're going to be part of the thing at the end. They're going to be able to be that nice area at the end. That's not how it works. You're going to be like, you're going to open that door to the next area, where you can be safe and all that stuff. They say, oh, no. You're not one of us. Bye-bye. And you're going to be out there like that. And the people that you turned your back on are going to be sitting there looking at you. And it ain't going to be good for you either. This is what is coming. So I don't know, again, what the future is. I don't know if this is a black pill moment for me, more of a wake up for me. Somebody to say it's time to be no cucking anymore. Saying that people from my generation and the boomers, a little bit older than me, need to wake up to this. It's great that all those billionaires want to rebuild this, but you have to understand what their agenda is. Are they all fucking right-wing people? Or is it going to be like a humanistic cathedral anymore? It's not going to be about Catholicism anymore. They should have that. They should have that as what it is. That thing took 150 years to build. I mean, that is... it's so bad. It's just so bad. But anyway, let me know what you think. Please share this and like it. This message has to get out there, especially the young guys. We just can't wallow around and think that just being watching porn all the time or being on your iPad or being on your phone is what the future is. You either buy some land somewhere and have a family, I don't not say prepping or anything, but or start building shit or make an invention that's going to help everybody. We need to do something better. We're the people that built all that shit hundreds and hundreds of years ago. It's in our it's in our DNA, it's in our blood, it's in our spirit. And regardless if people are trying to destroy our spirit, it's still there in all of us. We just need to awaken it. Okay, thank you for watching. You guys have a good day, and we'll talk to you later.